Hello, this video is being made for those parents and teachers who are unable to teach the students as there is a lockdown due to the coronavirus. So, this video is being made uh, to teach the students, to help the students in knowing their subjects details. In the previous video we have studied about different parts of the flower. So today we will study about the functions of the flower, functions of different parts of the flower. See, this is a green leafy structure which we are watching in the image. This is the green leafy structure, rounded green leafy structure. This is known as sepal. They are green in color, and the function is what? They protect the flower when it is in its bud stage. When it is the flower is in bud stage, they protect them. They form the outermost wall of the flower. They also provide support to the petals. These are the petals. The red one which you are watching here is known as petals. They sepals also provide support to the petal when the flower is fully grown up. Petal. The red one is petal. They are colorful part of the flower. They make the flower very attractive. They protect the inner part of the flower. The petals protect the inner part of the flower. They attract the bees, butterflies, birds, insects for the pollination. Petals attract the bees, butterflies, birds, and insects for pollination. So these are the functions of petals. They make the flower attractive. They protect the inner part of the flower. They attract the bees, butterflies, birds, and insects for pollination. Now let us see the function of the carpels. Carpel is what? In the previous video we have studied about the different parts of the flower. This is the stigma, this is the style, and this is the ovary. Stigma, style, and ovary together forms what? Carpels. Together they are known as carpels. Gynoecium. Gynoecium is what? It is the female part of the flower. It helps in the process of reproduction. It helps in the process of reproduction. The ovary, this is the ovary. The ovary turns into a fruit. Ovary only turns into the fruit. So these are the functions of gynoecium. Now let us see the function of the stamen, androecium. Stamen is what? In the previous video we have studied about the parts of the flower. The yellow one, the tube like structure which you are watching here, the yellow one is the filament, and this one is the anther. Together the filament and the anther together forms what? A stamen. The androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower. The androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower. It helps in the process of reproduction of the flower. Till now we have studied about the different functions of the parts of the flower. Now let us see what is pollination. Pollination is what? Pollination is the movement of pollen from anther to the stigma of flower which contains the egg. See, this is the anther, male reproductive part of the flower, and this is the stigma, female reproductive part of the flower. With the help of pollen tubes, whenever the bees or any insects take the pollen from the anther to the stigma, when it drops upon the stigma, it gets inside it through the help of pollen tube inside the ovary. This is the ovary, female reproductive part. So what is pollination? Pollination is the movement of pollen from anther to the stigma. And pollen is taken from the anther to the stigma which contains the egg inside it. When the pollen gets fused with the egg, we get another flower. So this is the pollination. Pollination is of how many types? Pollination is of two types. What are those? Self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self means what? It means the pollination which is in the same plant, which is done in the same plant, and cross pollination means which is done in another plant. When the pollen is transferred to the stigma, pollen is transferred to the stigma of same flower or flowers born to the same plant. When the pollen is transferred to the stigma of the same flower or flowers born to the same plant. Just now in the pollination, we have studied that the pollination is what? The movement of pollen from anther to the stigma. So when the pollen is taken from the anther to the stigma of the same flower born to the same plant, that is known as what? Self pollination. And cross pollination is what? When the pollen is taken from the anther to the stigma of other flower born on the born to the other plant, that is known as cross pollination. When the pollen is taken from the anther to the stigma of other flower born to the other plant, is known as cross pollination. If there is any doubt, please give me the message so that I can clear it in next video. What are the agents of pollination? There are different types of agents which help in pollination. They are insects, wind, water, animals. Insects, wind, water, and animals are the agents of pollination. How the insect are the agents of pollination? See, the bright colored flower attracts the insects. We all know the flowers are attractive. So the bright colored flower attracts the insect which tend to sit on these flowers. Which tend to sit on these flowers. Then pollen grains get stick to the insect bodies and are transferred when the insect goes to another flower. So in this way, the insects are the agents of pollination. Now, how wind is the agents of pollination? Wind carries pollen grains that are very light. Whenever the wind blow, the wind carries the pollen grains from the anther of the flower to the another flower, which are light, which are very light in weight. Wind carries pollen grains from anther that are very light to the another flower. How water is the agents of pollination? Aquatic plant. We all know the aquatic plants are lotus. So these aquatic plants release the pollen grains into the water, and the water carries the pollen grains for pollination. Water carries those pollen grains to another plant where the flower is there, and there they drop those pollen grains, and then another flower gets reproduced. How animals are the agents of pollination? Animals that are known to be the good pollinators of flowers, animals that are known to be good pollinators of the flowers are hummingbirds and nectar feeding bats. Hummingbirds and nectar feeding bats. They pollinate when they keep moving from one plant to another plant in search of food. They pollinate how? Whenever they are moving in search of food, they pollinate when they keep moving from one flower to another in search of food. Whenever they are moving in search of food to one plant to the another, they use to take the pollen from one flower to the another flower. These are only known as the cross pollination. Animals will only help in the cross pollination. It might be possible that the insects also help, but most probably animals are mainly helpful in cross pollination. Please subscribe the channel for next upcoming video. If you like this, please share it to your friends, colleagues, so that they can also get the help. And if there is any confusion, please give the comments in the comment box. Okay, thanks.